Welcome to a trip back in time, straight to the gritty terraces, peeling paint, and no-frills football of the 1970s. Today, we're diving into 20 English stadiums that still feel like they're frozen in time. These grounds ooze retro charm. But let's be real, some are just plain stuck in the past. From rusting stands to toilet blocks that should be listed buildings, these stadiums are throwbacks in every sense. Let's get into it. Let's dive in. 20. Kenilworth Road. This isn't just old, it's legendary. Tucked between rows of terraced houses, the away end is literally entered through someone's back garden. That's not nostalgia, that's time travel. The stadium is boxed in on all sides, forcing Luton to get creative with design. It's a weird, cramped, wonderful mess. Wooden seating still exists in parts. The main stand was built in the 1920s. 19. Boundary Park. Welcome to the ice station. Boundary Park is one of the coldest grounds in England, thanks to its exposed hillside location. Once a proud First Division stadium in the early Premier League days, it's now a shell of its former self. Three sides of the ground feel untouched since the 70s, with breeze-block walls, rusted fences, and faded signage. The main stand dates back over 100 years. 18. Gig Lane. Closed in 2019 after Bury FC's collapse, this grand old ground sat empty for years. But in 2023, it was brought back to life by fans and volunteers. Even before closure, Gig Lane was falling apart. Its steep terraces, narrow seats, and concrete corridors looked unchanged since the 70s. It had no big screens, poor lighting, and a distinct lack of polish. 17. The Shea. This is a strange one. Half football ground, half rugby stadium, and all of it screams, last updated in 1978. One side has a modern stand. The rest? Terracing, exposed brick, and concrete walls covered in fading paint. The pitch is notoriously uneven. The roof barely covers the seating in places. Facilities are minimal, and yet, it feels authentic. Raw football energy on a shoestring budget. 16. Vale Park. This was once nicknamed the Wembley of the North. But dreams faded fast. It was supposed to hold 70,000. Today, just over 15,000 fit, and parts of it look like a lost relic from post-war Britain. The Lorne Street stand took over 20 years to complete. There's an open terrace that hasn't changed since the 70s. The club has tried small upgrades, but budget constraints have slowed things down. 15. Blundell Park. This stadium looks like it's been battered by every storm since the 70s. Rusty barriers, worn-out wooden seats, and a unique main stand that feels like a ship cabin from the Titanic. It's old, gritty, and full of character. Wind whips in from the Humber estuary, giving it that classic 70s chill. Floodlights stand tall like steel giants, unchanged for decades. 14. Agborough. This is a proper lower league ground. Tiny turnstiles, corrugated metal roofs, and that delicious, famous Agborough pie. Yes, the food is legendary. But the ground? Still very 1970s. The stands are symmetrical, basic, and barely modernized. Floodlights tower over the ground like old oil rigs. The main stand is a throwback, functional but far from sleek. Still, fans love it. It's a football-first kind of place. 13. The Recreation Ground. Known as the Rec, this stadium has military roots. Built for the original Aldershot FC, it was reborn in the 1990s. But the structure? Still very much old school. Exposed metalwork, terracing, and wooden features create a 1970s army base vibe. Some parts of the ground have been touched up, but most of it still feels like you're watching football in a time warp. 12. Gander Green Lane. This is classic non-league football that somehow made it into League Two. Gander Green Lane is raw and real. Low stands, small seating blocks, and a pitch that used to be 3G until Sutton had to rip it up for EFL rules. It's built into a residential area with zero space for expansion. The away stand feels like a bus stop. 11. Broadhall Way. This ground feels like it hit pause on progress in 1983. There have been a few updates, a new stand here, some fresh signage there, but the bones of Broadhall Way remain old school. It's compact, tight, and functional. The East Terrace still brings the noise, packed with diehards. While it lacks the grime of other 70s-era grounds, it still carries that no-frills football league feel. 10. The Hive Stadium. This stadium looks more like a League Two ground from 1978 than a modern stadium. Flat, tin-roofed stands and endless fencing make it feel like an oversized training complex. It lacks soul and character, and crowd noise bounces off the empty spaces like a bad echo chamber. What really sets it back? The atmosphere. Despite being home to Barnet FC, it rarely fills up. 9. Holker Street. Now this is true old school. Holker Street is pure grit. The main stand is a vintage throwback with character, but the rest? Exposed metal, patchy concrete, and uncovered terraces that feel like they haven't seen upgrades since cassette tapes were a thing. Barrow's return to the Football League in 2020 revived the club, but not the stadium. The floodlights are straight out of the 70s. 8. Priestfield Stadium. Home to Gillingham since the Victorian era, it's got that chipped brick charm that only 130 years of wear and tear can bring. The away end is an uncovered temporary stand. In winter, that's pure misery. Despite some small upgrades in the 90s, the stadium remains stuck in the past. The Medway stand tries to be modern, but the rest of Priestfield screams old-school lower league chaos. 7. The Crown Ground. This ground feels more like a non-league throwback than a professional stadium. Basic stands, exposed terraces, tiny turnstiles. But here's the thing, it works. There's a scrappy charm that fits Accrington Stanley's identity. The Winnie Hill Terrace is like standing in someone's backyard. Fans are so close to the pitch you can smell the turf. But facilities are basic. Roof cover is minimal. Modern Polish is zero. 6. Plainmoor. This stadium is picturesque but prehistoric. The main stand is retro gold, with wooden seats, steel beams, and narrow stairways that scream decades-old design. Torquay has floated between the National League and lower divisions, and so has their ground. It's tidy but tired. The away end is open to the elements. The family stand looks like it hasn't had a paint job since the Beatles were still together. 5. Field Mill. One Call Stadium, officially, is dripping with history. But that doesn't mean it's modern. The West Stand has been renovated, but the rest? Very old school. Steel railings, echoey concourses, tight seating. Field Mill doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's functional, but if you squint, you might see foggy floodlights and bell-bottomed fans from the 1970s still haunting the terraces. And we love it for that. 4. Edgeley Park. Red brick walls, iron gates, compact stands. It feels like a time capsule from when football meant cold pies and tougher tackles. The Cheadle end is the pride here, loud, proud, and packed. But the rest of the ground? Aging fast. Rust shows, paint peels, and facilities are outdated by decades. Stockport's rise back into the Football League has brought new energy. 3. Gateshead International Stadium. Technically modern with a big capacity, but it's got no soul for football. Built for athletics, not atmosphere. There's a full running track around the pitch. That means fans are miles from the action. It's like watching football from another postcode. The main stand is huge, but feels hollow. The rest is concrete, cold, and straight out of an East German sports complex from the 70s. 2. The Racecourse Ground. The oldest international football stadium still in use. That alone makes it legendary. And yes, we're sneaking it in despite being Welsh. It's in the English football system. Wrexham's Hollywood revival is shining a spotlight on this ground. But let's be real, the racecourse is still mostly retro. The Cop End was a crumbling terrace closed since 2008. 1. St. James Park. This is small, scrappy, and special. The Big Bank is a standing terrace, the largest left in English professional football. It's loud, steep, and gloriously 1970s. Renovations have cleaned it up a bit, but it's still old school. Corrugated roofs, narrow tunnels, no glitz, no glamour, just football. Exeter fans love it. And honestly, so do we. And there you have it, 20 stadiums in England that refuse to move on. Whether you call it outdated or timeless, one thing's for sure. Modern football could learn a thing or two about soul from these places. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, which stadium are you secretly glad hasn't changed?